privilege to introduce our speaker for this morning. I met her earlier, and I tell you, I was just blown away by her accomplishments and by what she's going to talk about today. Her name is Dr. Sandra Bruce Nichols. Dr. Sandra B. Nichols is the Chief Medical Officer at Northeast Region for UnitedHealthcare. She was previously National Medical Director of Clinical Performance for UnitedHealthcare AmeriChoice. She has more than 15 years of increasingly responsible roles in healthcare, medical education, and medical management. Dr. Nichols has previously held the position of CEO for AmeriGroup, District of Columbia and Virginia, and Senior Regional Medical Director for the Department of Health, and as a Cabinet Secretary and Board of Health member in the administrations of 2 Arkansas governors, Jim Guy Tucker and Mike Huckabee. Dr. Sandra Nichols has received many awards and citations. She is a 2005 National Congress of Black Women Incorporated Award recipient, named one of the top 25 minority executives in healthcare by Modern Healthcare magazine in 2006, and received the Distinguished Alumni Award recipient from Columbia College in 2006. Dr. Nichols has served on numerous boards and organizations, including the Robert Woods Johnson Foundation, Southern Rural Access Board, and Mercantile Bank Board. She is currently serving on the Board of Trustees for Columbia College. She is a published author of articles and textbooks chapters. She is also married to her husband, Ronald, and they have a teenage daughter. Is it Marquise? Marquise. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker this morning, Dr. Sandra Bruce Nichols.
Since I am from Arkansas, I think you all heard the things that I've done in Arkansas. I have to give you a good old Arkansas good morning. And the way we say it down south is, howdy! Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, come on. Oh, there you go. Let's try it again. Good morning. Let me make one correction to my resume because she's not here, and I'm sure that if anyway it gets out, I won't be able to go home. My teenage daughter will be 21 next week, okay? Haven't changed that resume in a while. She's a senior in college, and God is just good. She's doing well. I told you that I'm from the South. I'm a Southern girl, and I love it. I love living in this area, but you know, home is just home. Home is where the heart is. Anybody from the South? Oh, yeah. Look at this. All right. So if you're from the South, you know we have a tradition of interaction. You just did a great job of doing it, right? It's called call and response. I said howdy, you said howdy back, right? All right. This is going to be one of the most unusual keynote speaking engagement and speeches that you have ever heard, because you are going to interact with me the whole time. And on a Saturday morning. How about that? Come on, everybody. What do we call this from the South? Is tapping into your root, the two-way conversations. Anybody remember that? Do you remember the call and response? Anybody? Hands? Okay, all right. So today, as a part of the call and response, I am happy to tell those who are in the room that's under 18 and those who are in the room above 18, we are going to have a pop quiz. I know that you know that we're not in school, okay? I know that you know a lot about diabetes, and I'm wanting to make sure that if you don't know a lot about diabetes, that you at least get some facts from just interacting with me. And guess what we're going to do? Number one, I will not keep scores, okay? Will not keep scores for the pop quiz, so there will not be a winner today. And secondly, Dr. Hound and the folks from UnitedHealthcare are going to give out presents for just participation. So you think we can get you guys to participate with me? Yeah. All right. Very, very good. So let's start with the very first question. Are you ready? Yeah. All right. By 2020, if the current trends continue to occur at the rate that the current trends are occurring, what percentage of the U.S. population could have diabetes or be pre-diabetic? Let me repeat that. Oh, look at this. Awesome. At the current trend, what's occurring right now, less than 10 years from now, less than a decade from now, if we continue at what's occurring now, what percentage of our population will have diabetes or pre-diabetes? Now, this is the way it's going to go. I'm going to call out 10%. You're going to raise your hand if you believe that, okay? Everybody who gives, can you get up? Let's start off giving gifts on this side, and then we'll move to the middle, and then we'll move to the left, based on the right hands that are up, okay? So here we go. Do you think by 2020, if we continue at the same rate we're going, that 10% of the population will be pre-diabetic or diabetic? Raise your hand. Okay. You got it? Okay. Very good. B, 30%. How many believe 30%? Okay. Very good. You guys will see the hands. Make sure you calculate the hands. Okay. And then the last one, C, 50%. Okay. Who thinks they're right? Everybody. The answer is 50% of the population. Can you believe that? If we continue on the same trend that we are on today, by 2020, 50% of the population will have diabetes or pre-diabetes. Now, if I told you that statistic was correct and told you that was cancer and not pre-diabetes, what do you think our country and our nation will be doing?
Trying to find a cure.
Yeah. You think this room will be packed? Yeah. Do you think we'll see any other news on the TV besides the fact that 50% of the population, 1, 2, every other person would have cancer, that we'll have more of an outcry than we have today? Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. According to a UnitedHealthcare study called United States of Diabetes, if the current trend continues, we can expect that half of the U.S. population will either have diabetes or be well on their way to getting diabetes by 2020. That means that less than a decade, every other person in this room, if you don't have diabetes, every other person in this nation would have diabetes. We've stated that if this was cancer, everyone will be out, there'll be a major outcry, there will be a cure, people will be interacting and be asking questions, our children will know about it. So why aren't we doing something about diabetes? Why don't we have a victory over diabetes today? Anybody?
Because it's livable and controlled, and looking at a diabetic, you don't know they have a condition.
Also, what are we doing about it? How many of us are willing to go and be tested for prediabetes? How many of us know that we're probably at risk for it, but yet not doing the things that we need to do, right? So we've got to be called to action. The victory over diabetes is only going to occur when we get that fire in our belly to do something about it. Are you firing up today? Yeah. Sure didn't sound like me. You had a higher pouty than you did about being fired up about a disease that's so important. Diabetes is a deadly disease. The challenging piece about diabetes is it is a slow, deadly disease. I don't know about you, but when it's time for me to go, I don't want to go slow. Okay? And I want to be as healthy as I can possibly be until that time occurs. It is a deadly disease, but it can be stopped. Cold in its track. Can it not? Yep. How many of you are pre-diabetic? Okay. Can you do something about your pre-diabetes? Yeah. Can you? Yes. How many of you are diabetic? Can you do something about your diabetes? Yes. Absolutely. What we can do as a group is not only what you need to do for your individual health, but it's so important to educate, commitment, and call to action. And I hope that's why you're here today. Let me tell you a couple stories about the Bruce family. The reason why my name is Sandra Bruce Nichols, because guess what? My daddy's name is Bruce, right? So, I want to give Dad a little credit if I do things positive, and Daddy said if I ever do anything negative, not to use his name. When we say diabetes, all too often people say, oh, do you mean a little sugar? Why, my aunt has sugar. My daddy has a little sugar. My grandpa, all my family has sugar, right? But what I soon learned from my own family experience was sugar is not so sweet. My grandmother used to call my granddaddy sugar. And when I was a kid, being a female, you like stuff like that. I was extremely excited to hear old as Granny was, still calling Daddy Grandpa sugar. I was absolutely just in awe. I thought, man, I'm gonna be the wife. I don't want a man gonna call me sugar when I get to be, 70, 80 years of age. I really thought it was a term of endearment. Yeah. Did not realize that the reason why my grandmother called him sugar was because he smelled sweet. Okay? Diabetes, right? Yeah. Diabetes. And so when I realized that I have relatives who are old and young alike who are dealing with this disease, it is so very tough watching them. It was so very tough watching my grandfather die slowly, watching him go blind, watching the things that occur with diabetes. And at the time that he was diagnosed, it wasn't the tight control that we see today. It wasn't the opportunities that we have today. Those who have diabetes, the things that you need to do that'll help. The knowledge was not there. Are you listening to me? Yes, are you taking care of yourselves? Okay? Tight control, watching your foods, watching your nutrition, exercising. Your message here today. My grandfather didn't know that those things would make a difference. Wanted to share with you a story that I got from my nephew. I asked him, who is my 9-year-old nephew who is fighting diabetes, and I get emotional about him, you'll know why in a minute, what I should tell the audience. And he's the cutest little fellow, and very smart, and very, very, just a good little kid. He said to tell you all that we must find a way to get rid of this real horrible disease. He said he did not want to see another one of his classmates, another one of his friends, or another kid that have to give himself as many shots as he has to give himself in the course of the day. My nephew was diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 3.5, right at 4.